Well, from deciding what to watch on TV to pushing your political opinions on others, safe to say that we're all guilty, just a little guilty of being a little bit stubborn from time to time. But what happens when you hit a roadblock and no one will budge?
Well, Michael McQueen is a change strategist, and his latest book promises to hold all the answers after spending a decade researching the science of stubbornness and the art of persuasion. He's now revealing how to supercharge your sway with what you say.
Oh, I like that. We welcome Michael McQueen back to the studio. Hi, Michael.
Good morning.
Arguably, the world is more polarised than ever before. Changing someone's mind can sometimes feel almost impossible.
Yep.
Actually, is it even up to you to change someone's mind? I don't know. But how hopeful are you that we can find middle ground?
Well, that's the hope. And really, the goal with this is to help us do that because we spend so much of our lives trying to change other people's minds. So the statistic is that we spend 40% of our time trying to influence or sway the decisions of other people, be that at work or at home.
Wow.
The challenge is we're not very good at it. So the headline data is we're only successful in changing other people's minds 3 to 5% of the time because we're typically using like 19th and 20th century techniques for trying to change 21st century minds, and it just doesn't work.
So that's a pretty low strike.
Are you talking about at home trying to get the kids to do something as well as in business? Is this the whole spectrum?
The whole spectrum,
okay.
Yeah.
That's real-life wizardry, what you're talking here, because you've looked at the science behind this.
Yeah.
So what's the biggest mistake that we're making when we're trying to change someone's mind?
I think the biggest mistake is this assumption that humans are reasonable and rational. And that's not a new idea. So that's been around since the early 1600s and the Enlightenment, this idea that if you want to influence someone or educate them or change their thinking, if you just expose them to good evidence, a good argument, solid logic, they'll see reason and they'll change their mind.
We're too emotional for that.
Correct. And not only is that not true, the opposite is true. So what we've discovered in the last few years is the more evidence you give them, more data you give to someone who's fixed in a way of doing things or thinking, the more entrenched their thinking becomes. Their minds sort of close down rather than open up.
God, we're very difficult to understand as
We are,
humans, aren't we? My husband gave up years ago. Can we discuss the science of being stuck in our ways?
Yeah.
Is it stubbornness or is there more at play? What is it?
That's what I wanted to really look into with the book is not just the psychology of stubbornness, but the neuroscience behind it. So what happens in our brains when we get stubborn? And so it all sort of lives in a part of our brain I call the instinctive mind, which is the part of our brain that does all the fight and flight reflexes. It's all about self-preservation. The trick is our brains respond to psychological threats the same way they do physical threats. So if you're exposed to ideas or information that threaten what you've decided is true, you basically go into defensive mode or just go into denial mode. And you see that so often play out with, say, conspiracy theories where...
Or the yes and no referendum.
Correct. We've seen this play out in so many areas of life in the last few months even.
So, Michael, if you want to change someone's behaviour or beliefs, where do we start?
I think the first thing would be to listen first and speak second. You know, we so often go into discussions or debates trying to, win someone over with our well-rehearsed arguments, but have we actually taken the time to listen? Because people who are listened to are more likely to listen. The second key would be to not be in it to win it. Our opponents don't have to be our enemies when we're trying to discuss or debate ideas. And I heard this beautiful quote recently from Andy Stanley that in any relationship, when one person wins, the relationship always loses. And that's so true. Like, do we go in trying to win? Like, is it about progress or victory? And the other one is the importance of agency or autonomy. What our brains do is they equate having choice with control. And so if there's a sense that we don't have options, we will dig our heels in, even if the idea presented to us is one that deep down we think is a really good one, because we want to feel like we are in the driver's seat of change.
Wow. See, there would be people in business listening to you thinking this. I'm seeing this through a mother's eyes and teenagers.
Yeah.
Like the more you try and say, like, this is the right thing to do, the more they dig their heels in, right? Before we let you go, you also say it's possible to become more likeable in an instant. Everybody wants to be liked.
Of course, yeah.
So what's the secret?
I think the secret is to make people feel seen and make them feel special. We all want to feel like we're valued. And so I think the most important thing we can do is, ask someone for their input, ask for their advice. Give them a meaningful and genuine compliment. Or, this is interesting, one of the things we discovered in the book was ask someone for a favour. The best way to win favour is to ask for a favour, because something happens when you ask someone to help you, it makes them feel special. And it actually changes the way they see you and makes them more open to you as well.
This is fascinating.
Yeah, but the big word you said, and that was genuine. It's got to be genuine.
Authentic.
Otherwise, it's manipulation.
I hate manufactured kindness.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think people can see through that.
Correct.
But wow, that's good tips. That's great. For more great insights, you can pick up a copy of Michael's latest book. It is called Mind Stuck. and it's out now. What's the Mastering the Art of Changing Minds?
Really fascinating stuff, Michael. Thank you.
Lovely. Thanks, Steve.